Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Last Lap. In today's episode, we're going to talk everything Daytona from last weekend. It was a doubleheader on Saturday since the Xfinity race got postponed to Saturday, and then the Cup race was obviously Saturday night. But before we hop into all of that, just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button, the like button. You hit the little bell for notifications when we upload videos. And you can also check us out on Instagram at The Last Lap News. We try to post some content on there throughout the week, like one big announcement that we'll get to in our next episode that'll be going into Darlington. But just want to remind you guys to do all that fun stuff before we hop into the video. As always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew on the show. And we got 1 week of college done, but at the same time, the playoffs are going to start this week at Darlington. So how you feeling about this past week and how you feel about going into the playoffs?
Well, it was a great race from what I saw this weekend. A bunch of action that went on. I was impressed with this package and how it works. But I'm also not happy about our results, which we'll get to in this video.
Alright, so we're going to talk about the Xfinity race first very quickly. So Austin Cindric has not been lucky these past 2 weeks. He got involved in a wreck in Michigan, and then he got involved in a wreck again at Daytona on Saturday. He got hit in the back bumper by, I believe it was Maya Snyder, and that sent him into the right, into the outside wall. Pretty much tore that car up, ended his day very early. He was quite frustrated after when they interviewed him. And now apparently it's a pretty close gap between him and AJ Allmendinger for the regular season championship on that side. In the Xfinity Series, they still have a few more weeks until the playoffs are set for them. So it'll be interesting to see if Allmendinger can close that gap. He's been on a roll recently, whereas Austin Cindric seems to be going in a slump. So maybe it could happen in just like the Cup Series when Kyle Larson nailed down that lead on Denny Hamlin. But we'll have to see. They have a few more weeks there. Going into the race further for the Xfinity Series, there was a restart with, I believe, about 10 laps to go. And Kaulig Racing, man, they're just incredible on these super speedways. They got themselves to the lead. They had to pass Christopher Bell pretty late, and they executed that pass absolutely perfect. All three of them just went to the inside, went right by Christopher Bell, got right back up in line, and it was pretty fun to watch, honestly, how well they worked together. And coming to the white flag, Allmendinger was in the lead, and then Jeb Burton made a move going into turn 3, and out of nowhere, Justin Haley makes a move to the top, and Kaulig Racing is 3 wide at Daytona on the final lap through turns 3 and 4. Coming to the start-finish line, they're taking up the whole track. Nobody's getting by them. They're just hogging the whole track. All three of them coming 3 wide to the line. Justin Haley just edges AJ Allmendinger for the win. Justin Allgaier will get third, but Jeb Burton was right there in fourth. 1-2-4 finish for Kaulig Racing. It was incredible to see how well they worked together, and it paid off. They got all 3 of their cars in the top 5. A 1-2 finish. Justin Haley gets the win. That was an incredible way to start Saturday, honestly, in my opinion. But what do you have to say about the Xfinity race?
Well, that was one crazy finish right there with all 3 calling cars, and that made it even more exciting. Because, teammates, sometimes they won't give you the edge, and sometimes they'll give you as much room as they can. They gave them a lot of room, and that ended up being a crazy finish. So it seems like Justin Haley always comes out of nowhere for these wins, but I mean, always wins now, or super speedway wins. Even the Cup, even that Cup win, it's a super speedway win. So Justin Haley one day is gonna be a great restrictor plate racer, or super speedway racer for the Cup Series one day, as they are going full time next year. It was a pretty good race. Besides that, it was pretty decent. And I'm a firm believer that AJ Allmendinger could possibly win the regular season championship because of how strong calling is right now, and that might carry into the playoffs this year. So I'm gonna keep my eye on AJ Allmendinger. I think he's gonna be probably Probably the second. He's the second favorite for the championship besides Cindric, but we'll see how Cindric rebounds for the next race.
Yeah, I believe Cindric will definitely bounce back. It's just a rough slump where he got unlucky the past few weeks. So I mean, I'm sure he'll turn it around. He had a great car at Michigan and had a great car at Daytona, so I'm sure he'll be right back in contention next week. But we're going to transition into the Cup Series race now, Saturday night at Daytona. A bunch of storylines going into it. We had the regular season championship between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, and then we had the playoffs as well, with who would get that final playoff spot. As I said in our preview video, that Tyler Reddick had the advantage over Austin Dillon, but I listed a big list of drivers that could show up and win and just knock Tyler Reddick out and steal that final playoff spot. Along with there were some other drivers as well that can make their way up and down the point standings that were already locked in to get some more playoff points, because the higher you finished in the regular season points, the more playoff points you got added heading into the playoffs. So there were a bunch of stories going into it. Great racing all night long. I'll get into the package in a minute. But as far as the recap goes, Chase Elliott would win stage 1, Joey Logano would win stage 2, and then after that is when things would start to get a little bit crazy. Eric Almirola and Alex Bowman spun, I believe it was in stage 3. I'm pretty sure it wasn't anything too big. They just spun, not much damage. They were both able to be repaired. Let's see, what else happened? So, with 20 to go, I'll say what else happened before that. So the Fords, they decided to pit early in stage 3. They decided to pit before the Chevys and Toyotas, and they did that. They all came down, got fuel only, got back on the racetrack, and the Chevys and Toyotas were both in line. They were double file, basically, going around the track, and they kept catching traffic, and everybody was wondering why they weren't pitting, and sure enough, a caution came out, and that gave the Fords the track position. Rick Ware Racing had they had a night, that was for sure. All three out of 4 of their cars got involved in a wreck. One of them spun and then collected the other 2. It was kind of funny, not gonna lie. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I was laughing.
Yeah, hopefully Rick Ware Racing can get rid of a few of those charters, because that was kind of a bad look on their part. But they brought out the caution that forced the Chevys and Toyotas to pit. The Fords obviously stayed out, got the track position. There were probably 10 or 12 Fords that stayed out and then from there on, it was absolute chaos till the end of the race. There were several leaders in this race as well, which I'll also kind of get to at the end, but Austin Dillon, he sped on that cycle of pit stops for the Chevys and Toyotas on pit road under caution, and on top of that, he had an electrical issue, so apparently the voltage for the battery wasn't as high as it should have been. They actually came down pit road and changed the entire battery out under caution, which was pretty cool to watch, honestly. They jacked the car up. I didn't even know the battery was in front of the left rear tire, so I learned something new. That was really cool to watch them do that on live TV. So they changed the battery. It would be fine for a few laps, and then the voltage issue came back again. But there was a restart with 16 laps to go. Ricky Stenhouse hit Martin Truex Jr. That sent Truex into the right and took out William Byron, unfortunately, on the backstretch. A few other cars were involved as well, but those were the 2 main ones that got taken out. Unfortunate break for William Byron there and Martin Truex Jr. There was another restart after that, and then that's when the big one happened. So Chase Elliott was in the lead. It was going back and forth between him, Denny Hamlin, Matt DiBenedetto was up there. A few drivers were up, swapping the lead back and forth. Chase Elliott was blocking back and forth all kinds of different lanes and all of that kind of stuff. And going into turn 3, DiBenedetto kind of faked a move to the bottom and then went up to the top. Chase Elliott tried to get up there and block, and he got up there. He got in front of DiBenedetto, but DiBenedetto was just coming a little bit too fast. I believe Denny hit the back of DiBenedetto just a little bit, and that shoved him into Chase. Chase went up into the outside wall, tried to save it. He saved it a little bit, lost control again, went back up into DiBenedetto, and that set off the big one. So many cars were involved. Kyle Busch was involved. Not Kevin Harvick. I don't even know. There were so many drivers involved in that wreck. It was a very big crash. Denny Hamlin was involved, one of the front runners. So really big wreck there. Unfortunate that happened, but that took them quite a while to clean up. After that, it was a green-white checker. Ryan Blaney got through the wreck, as well as drivers like Corey LaJoie. He got through the wreck, and several other drivers, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Newman, all these drivers that could have won and advanced their way into the playoffs. They got through this wreck. Chris Buescher was up there as well. On that restart, though, Corey LaJoie, of all people, shoved Ryan Blaney, got him out in front, and then from there on, Ryan Blaney was just blocking every move possible. Corey LaJoie even tried to make a pass for the lead, I'm pretty sure, late in that race. Down the backstretch on the final lap, Kurt Busch was pushing Daniel Suarez, and Suarez was pushing Harvick. Suarez went to the inside, and Kurt Busch tried to follow him. Unfortunately, hooked Suarez in the right rear. That sent him into Harvick. That caused another big wreck on the final lap, and there would be a caution, which I believe was the right call. Either way, Ryan Blaney would have gotten back to the line first because he was way ahead of Chris Buescher, so Ryan Blaney would get the win. His second win in a row, his third one this season. So, great run for Ryan Blaney. Hung on, was able to win the race. And then, as far as the regular season and the playoffs go, Kyle Larson would hang on and win the regular season championship, and then Tyler Reddick did hang on and get some points. He also had some damage on his car. The nose was caved in a lot. There was a picture on Instagram of that car absolutely destroyed. I don't even know how he finished the race. I believe he got a top 5 out of it, so I don't even know how that happened. But Tyler Reddick, awesome run for him. Chris Buescher was disqualified, so that got rid of his second place position, unfortunately. And yeah, the package was great. I loved the package. I thought it was going to be a little bit iffy with the reduced horsepower and them removing the wicker bill and all of that, but I think it was a perfect mix of the tandem racing and also the pack that we're used to seeing. So I thought it was a very good mixture of both of those types of racing, and I absolutely loved it. So Matthew, what do you have to say about the race, the crashes, the point standings, the package, all of these big stories? What do you have to say about those from Daytona?
Well, it was definitely a fantastic race from what I saw. I mean, this package actually really impressed me. I was really worried when they were going to change the stuff because the whole Logano incident, Talladega and all that. And I'm like, oh great, now it's going to be like impossible to pass, like, just like the mile and a half it seems like. But I was actually really impressed from what I saw. You still had the runs, but it's not as crazy as they were. I mean, it was definitely great. But yeah, it was a great race. Yeah, that last stage was really crazy from my point of view. Now, I want to talk about this one wreck here, with, of course, Chase Elliott and Matt DiBenedetto got together in the turn 4, and that basically set up the big one. Well, the first big one of the night, but I had to rewatch it over again to make sure that I was seeing things correctly. And yeah, it's still Chase Elliott's fault. I mean, and also the spotter's fault too, because Matt DiBenedetto had his nose up there. He had the run. He had his nose up there, so he was not clear at all. So, I mean, that's Daytona. You throw these bad blocks like Brad Keselowski used to. Like Brad Keselowski always rants at the super speedway races. Everybody loves throwing bad blocks, and that was a bad block right there. I definitely feel bad for DiBenedetto because that was his shot to win right there. I mean, he was there, so I feel bad for him. And I'm not happy either because my driver got caught up in that, and now we're going to start in like the 20-something position now in the first race of the playoffs, and that's not what we needed. So I'm not really happy about that either. But man, that last lap was crazy because Corey LaJoie was up there, Chris Buescher was up there. And then Ryan Blaney just came out of nowhere again. I mean, and also feel bad for Suarez too, because he had also had a big run just like Matt DiBenedetto, but this time Kurt Busch basically pulled a Brian Vickers at Talladega, and next thing you know, the whole field was wiped out. So I feel bad for Suarez because he might have gone to Blaney because he has such a shove there in the backstretch. But that was a crazy last lap, and that ended up giving the win to Ryan Blaney. His second win in a row, which I never thought that would happen because my expectations of Blaney are just basic. Win it, just win one race and that's it. But now he has won 3 races, just like Alex Bowman. And man, Ryan Blaney is one of the lucky drivers, that's for sure, because he's always there at the right time. It seems like he doesn't really like dominate races and wins. Like he just comes out of nowhere. It seems like, and next thing you know, he has his clutch genes. It seems like ends up winning these races. So impressive win for Blaney. And a well-needed momentum for him since his playoff time. And the last couple years with him in the playoffs have kind of been disappointing. So we'll see if Blaney can elevate his playoff chances now. And now the whole field is all set. So we'll go and give our playoff predictions in our next video. We're going to have a whole playoff predictions video, but stay tuned for that one. But overall, it was a great race, and yeah. It was a mixed emotion race for me.
Yeah, it was a great race. Had a bunch of highs and lows. I'm still gonna disagree with you on that. Well, okay, Chase Elliott threw a block, and my argument is that he was clear. He got in front of Matt DiBenedetto, so that's my argument. He got up in front of him. That means he was clear. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto probably had to check up a little bit, but Chase got up there. He was in front of Matt DiBenedetto, so I mean, was it a bad block? Probably. Should it have been avoided? Probably, but he still got up in front of Matt DiBenedetto, and DiBenedetto just couldn't slow down in time and ran into the back of him. But that's my perspective. I'm sure a bunch of people have different other perspectives, but that's my perspective. I'm going to stick to it. But let me go over the top 10 really quick, because there are some very interesting names in this top 10. So Ryan Blaney obviously got the win. Chris Buescher did finish second, but he got disqualified, so that spot was taken away from him. Bubba Wallace would finish second. Ryan Newman would finish third. Ryan Preece fourth. Tyler Reddick fifth, who did clinch his way into the playoffs. Justin Haley sixth, so after the win in the Xfinity Series, coming back getting a 6th place finish, that's good for him. Alex Bowman finished 7th. Chase Elliott came back and finished 8th somehow. I have no idea how he came back and finished 8th after that crash. BJ McLeod finished 9th, and Josh Bilicki finished 10th. So definitely an interesting list of drivers there that finished in the top 10, especially kind of towards the bottom of that list there. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, that's what these restrictor plate races do. They do, though. It kind of gives those underfunded teams chance to at least try to contend for a win, if not get a good finish. So we got some very interesting names there in that list. Honestly, I don't really want a Rick Ware racing car finishing in the top 10, because that'll give them more money and give them more hope that they can somehow contend on a weekly basis when literally their entire group got lapped by the pack. But I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. But yeah, like Matthew said, we'll talk about our playoffs predictions and all of that a little bit later, and we'll provide a list of all of that. But let me rate this race really quick. I think I'm gonna give it I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really loved the package. It was great. The runs were pretty balanced. You could pass, you could bump draft, you could lock bumpers. You could do a bunch of stuff with this package. I really liked it. The only thing that I'm going to slightly take off for just a little bit is that last lap crash. That was a little bit sloppy. I wish Kurt Busch didn't wreck Suarez. It would have been interesting to see them try and come back to the finish line to see if Blaney could hold off Harvick and Suarez, because they both had pretty good runs going into turn 3 right there. But other than that, I thought it was a very good race. I love this package. Hopefully, they continue to use it for the rest of the year, and hopefully, they consider it as well with the next gen car next year. But I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. And what are you gonna rate it?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I loved what I saw. I mean, it had basically everything: chaos, intensity, crashes, a crazy last lap. I mean, this was a great race for me, and I wish I was there. But I would love to go back to Daytona sometime. But yeah, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I loved what I saw.
Yeah, definitely a great race. Hopefully, they still use this package for further use. I really do like that the runs weren't as aggressive because, I mean, as cool as those races were earlier in the season, I feel like those runs were just way too strong. Not from a safety perspective, but just from a racing perspective. You couldn't really throw a block because if you threw a block, you got wrecked. Where is in this race, you could mostly throw blocks and be okay. I mean, I know Chase Elliott threw that one late, but that was late in the race. Other than that, drivers would throw a few blocks and they wouldn't get spun out in front of the whole field. So I definitely do like that aspect of this package. As for our fantasy points, I got 1 point for my Xfinity pick. I picked Justin Haley, and then none of our Cup picks won again. Of course, I was thinking about picking Ryan Blaney as one of my second or third picks, but I didn't, unfortunately. So I still got 1 point. You didn't get any, so I'm slowly closing that gap. I'm at 18, and you are at 31.
Okay.
At least I'll get to pick first for Darlington next week. So hopefully, I can get back on the board here and maybe close that gap. But yeah, do you have any other closing thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
Not really. It's just ready for the playoffs. Hope it's a good one, and we'll see who chokes in this year's playoffs and who surpasses expectations in this year's playoffs.
Yeah, I'm ready for these playoffs. I'm kind of ready, but I'm kind of not, just because Chase Elliott winning the championship last year. I'm like, can he really repeat? I don't know if he can. I don't think he can. But like
You still got Larson.
I'm reliving the memories from last year's playoffs, so hopefully I can kind of cherish that from last year and also kind of pull for him this year. But we'll see how it goes. We'll come out with our preview video for the playoffs on Wednesday. We'll make a bracket, and each of us will kind of should go through each round, see who we think is going to advance through each round. We'll give our championship 4. We'll give our champion. Everything about the playoffs we will talk about in that video. That will be coming out Wednesday, more than likely. But you can also stay tuned on our Instagram page. We'll update you guys on there. But until our next video, we will see you guys later.